Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, PattSun, and today we're gonna be taking a look at r/AmItheA asshole, where OP is so pissed off over his wife's violent outburst. Let's begin. Am I wrong if I left my girlfriend even though she's trying? Posted by Reddit user Usual Pirate.
Me and my girlfriend have been together for 4 years. It's been a relationship where we both love each and we have a 3-year-old daughter, but the problem is she is an addict. This was discovered in about the second year of our relationship. We both used to occasionally drink and do a tiny bit of coke early on in the relationship, but I fizzled out of that stuff and I was led to believe that so did she. She was always staying up late saying she was writing in her journal and I like a fool believed it. But we just had our baby and I was often tired and would be out cold and didn't have any reason to disbelieve it at the time. Christmas time come round and I notice a message from a man on her phone. I tried to ignore it, but intrusive thoughts got the better of me and I had to see what it was. It was a dealer demanding money. I questioned her about it and she spilled open about how she's been an addict for a long time and has even been stealing money from me, her family, and even my family to fund her habit. There was obviously an argument and discussion of boundaries, but what then followed for a year was a mess of more coke and alcohol binges that included her leaving the house one night and not coming back, and full-blown breakdowns that included police being called and her going to A&E. This happened for a year, but I just couldn't bring myself to leave the mother of my child and someone who I love. I know this seems strange, but outside of her addiction she is a loving mom and a supporting loving partner. So in the last 10 months or so, she has joined AA and CA and goes regularly. But she has still had 3 hiccups of relapsing. They haven't involved carnage but more so a bottle of wine and a night's sleep, and one time she also had coke dropped off when I wasn't there. I was furious and done with it, but she profusely apologizes and almost begs, and she has never stopped trying. Now in the last few months, I've noticed that I've developed some sort of anxiety and health anxiety. I've never had mental health issues, but lately I've been thinking about the concept of a brain tumor or even just dying in general. Like it plagues my mind some days and so vacant, but I for some reason think it has stemmed from this relationship that I've had and I'm currently in therapy about it, and it seems to evolve around my relationship. Seems to tick my anxiety of when we hit a rough patch. I guess what I'm asking anyone on this community is if they've ever had a relationship that has made them quite unstable and what was your best course of action. I think I know the obvious answer. I just need to know if anyone else has been through this and what they did.
OP, you yourself cannot fix an addiction. Even if you wanted to, you're just not qualified to do it. This is all her problem to deal with, not yours. And because of her addiction, you are now starting to see a change in your own mental health. You need to protect yourself, and more importantly, you need to protect your child, even if it involves removing her from your life. And now for today's second story. My friend is having an affair with a girl who's engaged. Posted by a deleted Reddit account.
So I just found out one of my close friends is dating a girl who is already engaged to someone else. Apparently, they met in college and have been friends for a bit before they started dating. My friend knew that she was in a relationship because her fiancé went to the same college as them, but I think he always had a bit of a crush on her as he always talked about her and how amazing she was. I felt bad for him because I also knew about her boyfriend, now fiancé, and thought he was just causing himself heartache for crushing on someone who is taken, and I never thought for a million years that he would have an affair with her. Apparently though, she started telling him how she wasn't as happy in her relationship as she used to be, as her fiancé travels a lot because he's part of some baseball group called the Party Animals, which is apparently a real thing. I thought it was a joke when my friend told me, but they're like the Harlem Globetrotter of baseball or something. And so they don't spend as much time together as she would like, and my friend kind of became her shoulder to cry on, so to speak. I'm not quite sure what happened to make them take the jump from friends to more, but they've now been dating for a couple months. I found out yesterday and I'm really mad at my friend that he would do this, as I myself was cheated on about a year ago and he helped me through that rough patch, so I can't believe he would then do this to someone else knowing how it affected me. I'm also worried that my friend is being led on in a way, as this girl has started talking about how she loves my friend and that she's going to leave her fiancé for him. But I think she's lying, as my friend told me she still travels with her fiancé to his games when she can. He says that she's just waiting for a good time to tell him, but come on, that's such an obvious lie. I also asked how her fiancé feels about him always texting her and calling her, but apparently she has a secondary phone that she uses that her fiancé doesn't know about, which seems really sketchy to me. I just don't know what to do in this situation. I'm pissed at my friend for being involved with someone who's engaged, but I'm also worried about him as this girl seems to be lying to him. I also feel bad for this girl's poor fiancé who is clueless about her cheating on him. I just don't know what to do and was hoping that getting this off my chest and writing it out might clear my head a little. I'd welcome any advice really. Update. Thank you everyone for the advice. I have decided that I will completely distance myself from my friend. I'm going to talk to him tomorrow about everything. I'm going to sleep on the decision about informing the fiancé somehow, as everyone had good points as to why I should as well as why I shouldn't. I am currently leaning towards telling him, but I will think about it some more. I'm not going to update again as I only made this account because my friend knows my main one and I didn't want him to see it. Thanks again.
OP, your friend and the engaged girl are pieces of shit. I would tell this person's fiancé even if it means ending my friendship. To me, cheating is unforgivable, and if one of my friends ever participated in it, then I have no problem cutting them off. Look, I get it. It's easy for me to say to just tell the fiancé and cut them off because I'm just some random YouTuber that has a lot of opinions. But OP, being cheated on can legitimately ruin a person's life, so you should let the fiancé know before he gets married. And now for today's final story. Am I the asshole for wanting to divorce my wife because she caused me to go to the emergency room? Posted by Reddit user Outside Looking In.
Bit long, sorry in advance. I now see how easy it is when writing down your thoughts, as I always wondered why people wrote so much. So my wife, 45, and I, 50, have been married for almost 20 years. We have a 16-year-old daughter and life has been pretty good. We've had our ups and downs like any marriage, but we work together through it. We have even done marriage counseling a couple of times to get ourselves on the right track. Mostly IRL stuff and feeling like roommates. When it comes to household chores, I've always cleaned the house, as I'm a bit OCD with cleaning due to growing up in a house with roaches as a kid. She takes care of the laundry, and we split making dinners on days I'm off. As I work 12 hours a day, 4 days a week, kiddo takes care of the dishes. So herein lies the issue. The wife is going through perimenopause. She's been super emotional and a bit unlike herself for the last 6 months or so. She is taking meds to help even out her hormones, but it's taking time. One day she is overly nice, the next day complaining about every little thing and getting all bent out of shape. So yesterday morning was one of her bad days. I forgot to set up the coffee pot to make coffee in the morning. When I went down, she was all bent out of shape over it. I tried my normal tactic of apologizing, as I had a migraine and went to bed early and just forgot. I told her I would make coffee in a bit as I just woke up and needed a little bit to get the morning fog out of my head, typical thing for me in the morning. She didn't like this answer, so as I went to sit on the couch, she threw her coffee cup at me, causing it to smash into my head, breaking and splitting my head open. At first, I was pissed that she actually threw something at me, like what the fuck, but then felt liquid, blood obviously as I couldn't see it, going down my neck. I put my hand on it, pulled it back, thinking it was coffee, then saw the blood. Of course, at the sight of this, my wife all of a sudden freaked out, screamed at my daughter to get a towel. All the while apologizing to me and crying, stating she was sorry. We headed to the emergency room and had our daughter drive as wife couldn't as she was a hot mess. Luckily, it wasn't so deep that it needed stitches and they used that glue stuff. The thing is, I had a rough childhood and home life. I was physically abused by my mom all the way up until I left at 18. My wife knows this, and when she did what she did, it brought back all those memories so long ago forgotten. I love my wife, but I swore to myself that I would never be in a place where I'd be abused ever again, and now I don't know if I would be the asshole if I filed for divorce because of this. I know her hormones are partially to blame, but also know she's an adult and responsible for her actions. I guess I'm just looking for advice, wondering if I will be the asshole if I decide to leave. Maybe I just needed to vent a little too. And now, for OP's update. First, I want to thank everyone for your responses. When I first posted, I thought I would get just a few replies. Obviously, I got way more than a few and was just overwhelmed by the sheer volume of comments. So never replied, but I did my best to read them all. However, working 12-hour days doesn't leave me much free time. So before the update, I figured I'd answer some questions that everyone asked. My daughter and I are safe, so thank you again for your worries and concerns. My wife has never had anger issues or thrown stuff ever, not to say she hasn't yelled or lost her temper, normal when we've had arguments, as we all do. However, she does have depression and anxiety and takes meds for those as well. Sorry if my post made it seem like I was making excuses for her. I was and am not. She's an adult and responsible for her actions. Also, some people mentioned I gave pointless info in the first few paragraphs. I figured it was best to point out that her actions wasn't due to me being a lazy husband. Okay, on to the bit long update. So after posting here, I took some time to cool off as I clearly was still mad about the situation. I took my daughter and we went for a drive. We talked about this issue and asked her how she felt. Much like most of the responses here, we agreed that it would be a good idea to leave the house for a bit, until her mom and my wife's mental issues have been resolved or her meds adjusted. We headed back home and I asked my wife to come down so we could have a family meeting, as she'd been hiding in our bedroom since we came home from the hospital. She came down and clearly feels awful, looked like she hadn't stopped crying since the incident. We both hugged her and told her we loved her, but we needed to talk. I told her for at least this week and maybe next week, we were going to stay at my sister's place. She could stay in the house as she works from home and can't go into the office. She started to cry again, so we waited for her to compose herself and finish. I let her know what she did was abuse. I reminded her of my childhood and that although this was outside of her normal behavior, it has caused a rift in our marriage. But I was willing to give her this one-time pass. However, she has to go see her doctor like yesterday. Tell her everything that happened. Everything she was feeling, not to sugarcoat anything so that her doctor can get her the right meds so that this never happens again. As many of you mentioned, it would be dumb of me to throw away 20 years for a one-time fuck-up. When I posted I was still pretty pissed, although it was a huge fuck-up. I think it's something we can work through. I told her that we need to set up an appointment with a marriage counselor again, that this is going to take work on both our parts to move forward. I also told her that if she ever did anything like that again, I would file for divorce and take our daughter with me. That her and my safety was my #1 priority. She apologized several times during the talk. She tried telling us that she's all messed up with her hormones and the meds and she didn't mean to. That when she threw it, it was like as soon as it left her hands, she knew she fucked up. I let her know that we understand she's going through a lot, but that her hormonal issues are never an excuse for acting out and intentionally throwing stuff at me. That she's an adult and she's responsible for her own actions. Blaming it on hormones or meds or other bullshit wasn't gonna cut it. I did get a bit heated at this point. She at least acknowledged this and apologized again. So this is where we are at this point. We are at my sister's place now as I write this. Sorry again for the stupidly long post. Again, thank you all you internet strangers for taking the time to read and comment. It allowed me to vent and also get some clarity.
OP, maybe you should go to her doctor's appointment with her so you can tell the doctor what's happening from your perspective. It will force her to be completely honest and you can give your inputs as well. When people act irrationally at home, do not expect them to act rationally at the doctor's office. The doctor is going to need some perspective from people your wife is close to, meaning you, for example. Also, if I were you, I would file for divorce. That cup could have landed in your head on the wrong side and caused severe damage, even death in some cases. Look, I've encountered several women going through menopause, but I have never, ever once seen a violent outburst. They become annoying, sure, but never violent. If you do decided to stay, then be very, very careful, OP. Viewer support is the best way for me to remain independent and continue bringing you these daily videos, which will always be here on my channels for you to watch absolutely free. So please consider subscribing to me on Rumble and on YouTube. Both will be linked in the description box down below. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you really like it, consider subscribing to PattSun to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.